the option to buy or a lease option. It's considered creative seller financing, and it's where landlords become landlord sellers and tenants become tenant buyer. The reasons that landlords rent to sell their property are typically because they don't have enough equity to pay 6% commissions to realtors, or they simply do not want to. They might be an out-of-state landlord, or they might be tired of being a landlord. They may have found a job out of town or out of state and need to move and need to find a solution for their property. They may have had a death in the family, or they may have lost their job. The reasons that tenants become tenant buyers is because they do not want to throw away their monies as renters and have past credit problems, or maybe they just need time to save up for their down payment, or not enough time on their job, or they simply desire to achieve home ownership. Why selling rent to own is smart. You open up your current market to 3 times the amount of traffic that you're currently getting. If you're selling your property for sale by owner, or as a traditional sale, conventional sale, or if you're just trying to rent your home, you're having to compete with everybody else who's doing the exact same thing. When you sell your home rent to own, it's smart because you're now opening up your personal market to about 3 times the amount of eyeballs that are currently not looking at your home, because you're offering something unique and advantageous for the future tenant buyers for your home. You get your full asking price in exchange for terms. Your tenant buyer will take better care of your home than a straight renter. And your tenant buyer is responsible for the first $5,000 in any kind of repair. You can also sell your home as is. You do not need to hire a property manager and pay 10% of your monthly rents to them. There's no late night or weekend calls or hassles. It's really a hands-off rental property. There's the potential for monthly cash flow and so much more. The problem with being a landlord is that you're responsible for every repair. You must take calls late at night or on weekends to fix leaky faucets or roofs. Your tenant does not care about your home as much as you do, and the risk of damaging your property goes up significantly. You're wasting time and money on a regular basis. Here is our solution. Selling your home on terms to get your full asking price. Give your tenant buyer time to fix their credit, save up for their down payment, get more time on their job, and simply achieve home ownership. You're opening up your market again to 3 times the potential buyers and saving thousands on unnecessary commissions and hassle. Plus, we educate our tenant buyers, we qualify them, and then we present them to you for free. You get the background checks, income verification, previous tenancy verification, their IDs, W-2s, tax returns, social security cards, etc. You get your full asking price. In exchange for terms, our tenant buyers will pay your full asking price. They're buying time. They are in most cases locking in the option price for a potential of future appreciation. Of course, the market can go up, down, or stay the same. But the buyer is hoping that it's going to go up. They're hoping it's going to go up. And of course, you're hoping that you'll have somebody in there who will take care of the property and ultimately buy the home as soon as possible. They and only they can lease and buy the home during the option period. So they also do not have to use any bank financing. So again, another benefits as to why our tenant buyers would buy your property and pay your full asking price. All right, let's take a look at the numbers. Let's say that your desired asking price is $200,000, but you have no equity to pay 6% commissions to a selling and listing agent, 2 different realtors, one that represents you and one that represents the buyer. That would be about $12,000 in commission that you'd have to pay. Let's say that your home is worth $180,000 to $200,000. And let's say that currently the home will not appraise at the price that you want it to appraise at. Let's say the closing costs are about 1.5% to 2%, which would be $3,000 to $4,000. But you will provide 1 to 3 years of a term if you were to sell the property rent to own. Sometimes people give a locked-in purchase price, and sometimes people give a TBD price, meaning to be determined. So if you don't want to lock in a price today, you can always do a to be determined price based on a future appraisal in the market when the tenant buyer decides to exercise their option to buy, if they decide to exercise that option to buy. Here's what you get. Security deposit that's equal to the rental amount, your first month's rent, a pet deposit, your full asking price. You do not have to do any repairs up to $5,000. The home is sold as is. All of the tenant buyer's financial information is given to you, and you get to approve who gets to rent or buy the home. You never have to pay any 6% commissions, ever. Our tenant buyers pay us only. And we actually add our fee on top of the purchase price. So after they paid us and it applies towards the purchase price, you're still going to net the $200,000 that you originally wanted. Our tenant buyers speak to a mortgage broker first. Before contracts are signed, our tenant buyers must speak to a mortgage broker and get pre-qualified to buy your home. That way you know how long they need for a term. Is it 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, or longer? So here's how to get started. Simply enter your name, email address, and the name of the representative that referred you to us if there was anyone. Tell us about your home and what you want for it, pricing, terms, etc. We'll prepare a letter of intent and send it to you. Approve our lease option and you're all set to go. So our lease option memo allows you to fill out the pricing and terms online, and you can cancel anytime. It's a non-exclusive agreement, so if you've currently got a realtor representing you, that's fine too. We're not realtors, so we're not trying to cross any listing boundaries. We represent ourselves, and we are actually buyers that buy the option and then assign that over to an end tenant buyer. This gives us an assignable option. It allows us to act as a principal in the transaction. There is no transfer of title, and home ownership and mortgage both stay in your name. Once you've signed up, we'll create marketing material that's free to you, and we'll e-blast it to our thousands of tenant buyers within 24 hours that are nationwide. We create additional marketing campaigns that are paid for by us and are free to you, and get you even greater exposure to your property absolutely free. We'll then just set up showing dates as we get interest. We even like to create what's called an auction strategy where, assuming that your home is priced correctly, we'll have lots of hungry and tenant buyers requesting showings. We encourage you to show the home to all of them at once. This is kind of the key. This creates an auction type experience that our tenant buyers and encourages them to act quickly and give you your full asking price because they see others that are there at the same time that they are. There's less likely to try to negotiate a lower price, and they're less likely to hassle you because they know now that things are urgent and they've got to make a decision. So it's a great strategy. Puts you in the driver's seat. Our tenant buyers will give you your full asking price in their offer. The tenant buyers will fill out a letter of intent for you, so it'll describe their offer entirely, and they find this at our websites. They'll also find at our websites the ability to apply for your home with our rental applications and provide you with all their financial information for your review. You decide who you like best and with whom you like to move forward. At this point, it's time to draft the full set of agreements. The full set of contracts are the lease agreement, the option agreement, the purchase agreement, and then the assignment of the option agreement, which is where we assign our interests over to them and we're out of the transaction, and now you get to work directly with them. But because of the nature of these agreements, you don't have to be a landlord anymore. You don't have to have a property manager in place because the tenant buyer is responsible for most of what a landlord would have to be responsible for. You review and approve all of the agreements first. There's no money or possession of your home that is exchanged until you fully approve of our tenant buyer's financial information and have signed, approved our contracts. Feel free to have your real estate attorney review the contracts first. Our tenant buyers will sign the agreements next. Once you've approved and signed the contracts, our tenant buyers will get their copy to approve and then sign. Contracts are forwarded for signature to all parties using ecosign.com. It's an electronic signature program that we use, and all parties will receive a personal PDF copy via email once they've all signed. Once the agreements are signed by all parties, it's time for our tenant buyers to pay you first month's rent deposits and take possession. They will pay our option assignment fee to us directly. We will have now assigned our option rights over to our end tenant buyers, and we will now be out of the transaction. Again, you will work directly with them from here on out. So, some frequently asked questions that we get. Are you a licensed realtor? The answer is no. We are private real estate investors that act as principals only, selling our lease option rights over to an end tenant buyer. Are you a part of the BBB, the Better Business Bureau? No. As mentioned above, we are private real estate investors and not a commercial business. We just represent ourselves, so we don't have clients per se. Our tenant buyers on our list are not our clients, and you wouldn't be our client either. Just as you represent yourself in your best interest, we do the same. And that's why we always encourage folks to have a real estate attorney review everything, even though our contracts that we draft typically are more pro-seller. Do you represent me, or are you my agent? Again, no, we do not represent anyone but ourselves. We do not represent our tenant buyers either. Are there any hidden fees or charges that I will have to pay ever? No, we are only paid by our tenant buyers. What happens if our tenant buyer stops paying? Well, just like in a regular rental, you can evict them. This is not a sale like a contract for deed or a land contract. It is only a lease with the option to buy or the option not to buy. Can I cancel any time without penalty? Yes, absolutely. If you find someone before we do, you may cancel. You may also cancel for any reason, assuming, of course, we have not found you a suitable tenant buyer. Does title and mortgage stay in my name? Again, yes, it does. Everything stays in your name. This is not a sale. It is an option right. That's it, meaning the tenant buyer may exercise their option to buy, and they may not exercise their option to buy. What if your tenant buyer damages my home? Though it's possible, it is much more unlikely than if you were to straight rent your property only. Our tenant buyers want to own the home, so they tend to take care of it more than a renter who does not want to own the home. Do you have a tenant buyer for my home right now? If your home is priced right, finding the tenant buyer is easy. If your home is priced wrong, meaning it's too high, obviously, no matter how many buyers that we have on our list, the home won't sell because it's overpriced. And so, generally speaking, we don't need 3 to 6 months to figure this out. In fact, we can do this or figure this out within 3 to 6 days because our tenant buyers and our list plus the additional marketing that we do will either raise their hand right away and say, yes, we agree with this pricing. We've got that big of a list on in our tenant buyer list plus the additional marketing that we do. So it's really easy for us to figure out if we're priced right or not, and really quick. We don't need to have your home listed for a long, long time to our tenant buyer list. Can my real estate attorney and or accountant review a lease option memo and other contracts? Of course, yes, of course. The lease option memo is ready now for review, and once we have drafted the other contracts mentioned, we're happy to provide you and your attorney or accountant a copy of for their review. So we have the lease option memo, which is about 1 to 2 pages max. Actually, it's probably about 1 page. And the future contracts that I mentioned previously, the list of them where we have the purchase agreement, lease agreement, option agreement, and then the assignment agreement, those haven't been drafted yet. So because we don't have the tenant buyer in place yet, you haven't seen anybody, they haven't seen your house, etc. So once those are drafted, of course, your attorney or accountant and or both can review those contracts prior to your approval. What happens if your tenant buyer does not buy the home after all? As they are buying the option to buy or the option not to buy, that is possible. But we can always restart the process and put somebody else in the home. So again, you've got a hands-off transaction. You're out of the picture to where you're not having to worry about being a landlord. So the worst case scenario is if somebody decides they did not want to exercise their option, All we do is need to simply put somebody else in there. You've lost nothing, and in fact, you've had a hands-free transaction again that cost you nothing, and that someone else was actually paying your mortgage for you. So, how to get started? It's simple. Fill out your name, email address, and the name of the representative that referred you, if any, and review our lease option memo. It's just that simple. It's about 1 page. Approve it, and we'll get started. Cancel anytime. Once we've got a tenant buyer expressing interest in your home, we'll set up a showing date and time to send them all out at the same time.